Hey guys, so normally I would have took and just had this as part of my main video, but unfortunately I looked online and I couldn't find a whole lot of information about it. So I decided to make a video that maybe could help some people out and kind of keep it separate so it doesn't get lost into another video. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to make some very big servos. Now, normally servos come in a smaller package and they're able to control some very small stuff, and as soon as you start getting to anything of any amount of size, they get really expensive really fast. So I'm going to show you how to make some really big servos to control some really big things, and I can't wait to use it. So let's get to it. To start off with, we're going to have to take apart a non-working small servo, so we're going to use a lot of components out of it. The components that we're going to be after is mainly the circuit board. We're going to unsolder the motor, as well extend the potentiometer out. So here I'm cutting off the potentiometer, and I didn't actually video this, but I just extended it out with some wires. It's really straightforward. So I'm drilling a hole on the shaft of this wiper motor, and that's where I'm going to end up attaching the potentiometer. And what that basically does is it allows the electronics to be able to sense where the gear is inside. Keep this in mind as we'll be coming back to it in a second. So I'm going to need to be able to modify this wiper motor a little. So I saved all the grease in order to reuse it afterwards. I took off this arm and I took the gear out. And I'm going to grab all the grease from this as well. So this metal part in the center is the part that I'm interested in. I'm going to have to separate these two, and I'm going to have to attach a shaft to it. So here's the two pieces. I got them separated, and I'm going to put the square tubing as my shaft. So now I put that in the vise, and I'm just going to take and add a few tack welds. If you don't have a welder, you can certainly find a shop or somebody else to do it for a couple bucks. If you can tell, I'm actually working on this during my shingling project, as there's shingles laying right there on the sidewalk. So now afterwards, I'm going to take and I'm going to cut a hole in this back panel, and that's where that shaft is going to come through. Now in order for this to do some work, I need it at a 90-degree angle. So I just took and cut and marked it out. So I can take away the material and just bend the last side over. And then I'll give that a couple tack welds as well. Here you can see I got it all welded up. Now I'm going to simply use the vise to press this back together how it originally was, and then we can put it back together. And here's how that was held in there. It's simply add a washer and then this little retainer clip. Even though this video is done, shout out to my sister, and now I actually have the tool that can put these clips on and off a lot easier. So now I'm going to pack it with that grease again. And I can put the case back on. For the application that I need it for, I don't need this shaft getting in the way. Now here's where I extended that potentiometer out. And I got everything hooked up. I'm going to explain how it's hooked up in a second, but this is an important part because you want to turn it all on, and you want to make sure that the potentiometer is going to turn the right direction as that shaft, and you also need to get it zeroed to where that arm is going to be where you want it to be, and so it's no longer moving. So as you can see here, I'm just turning it just slightly so that way it'll move to the position that I want it to be in. And then I added a little CA glue inside of the hole to secure the potentiometer in there. Sorry guys, I had to. But then I also added some hot melt to the wires, and that gives it a little extra rigidity and also keeps the body of it from turning. So I did some wire management and got all of it mounted on this piece of plastic. At the very end of this video, I'm going to have a wiring diagram for anybody interested in the techie bits. So now I can give it a test. And this thing has some amazing response times. I think it does help to start off with a good servo. Alright, so there you have it. I know it's not as entertaining as the other stuff on my channel, but I thought it'd be important to be able to share with people. So you can do this with a whole bunch of different gearboxes. It's not just this. You can try different things and see how it works for you. So thanks for watching. And now I can go over the electronics with you. So this battery is just to provide us with the voltage needed in order to power the receiver. So this is all a little janky right now. I was just testing it just to make sure that I could get it to work. But basically it's providing power for the receiver, which is your negative and your positive right here. And then it's also providing it to this board. Now this is HMD-03. It's an H-bridge board. It needs 5 volts and then ground. So the first pin up here is 5 volts. The next one's ground. So then you have the first input that's going to be on here. And where that input goes is to one of these terminals where that little motor on the servo, used to be. And then the other input 2 is going to the other one. So the 2 inputs are just from the servo motor where it used to be. So this board's doing the communicating and then it's reading it through here. Now this is the power coming from whatever battery you choose. And in my case, I'm using one of these 2200 14.4 volt LiPos. And that's going to be the input. And you got to pay attention because there is a ground and then there is a volt CC on the inner terminals. And then the output's going to go over to your motor, which is the wiper motor. Now, as far as positive and negative, you don't have to really pay attention to that. What you got to pay attention to is which way this turns in order to turn the potentiometer. Because if they're turning the opposite way, it's just going to keep going until it snaps the potentiometer. So you want to test it with this out and make sure you can get it centered first. So that's where those are going to go. Now this potentiometer is wired up exactly the same as when it was on the board. It's just extended out. So theoretically I could take and I could mount the servo board right to here. But with where I'm going to be taking this, it may get wet and stuff, and I don't want it to get wet. So I chose to extend it out. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I will get back to you.